back to Everything Anime Podcast. I'm your host Shinry, here with Everything Anime Podcast. I've been from anime, manga, video games, TV shows, and a relevant topic I'm talking about. Today's video is on Dr. Stone. I actually forgot the chapter numbers, but we're being very, very close to the end. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, where we last left off, we found the origin of the Medusa weapon that petrified all of humanity. Only it wasn't one giant Medusa weapon. It wasn't even a factory, like, where the Wyman had set up. Because we know Wyman's on the moon. But it wasn't even that. It was a pyramid of tiny Medusa weapons, all set off at once. And that's what petrified all of humanity. That was mind-blowing. It was like, again, Goldie Roger laughing at the One Piece. It was Ichigo's father walking out, and it's revealed he's a Soul Reaper. The second being Ichigo's mom being a Quincy, which after I seen Ichigo's dad being a Soul Reaper, I knew Ichigo's mom was a Quincy. It's a lot of people not knowing Naruto's dad was Portokage, which was pretty obvious, but it's still really cool when you see Naruto's dad talk to his son, even if it's in his mind. Very cool shit. Very mouth-dropping shit for anime fans and anime nerds and manga nerds like me. So, now that we're back at ground zero, we found the mountain of Medusa, but we found the pyramid that caused all of humanity to be petrified. We still don't know why this happened. And that's one of the still greatest mysteries of Dr. Stone. We still don't know why the Y-Man did this. And who he is. But we still have to see if any of these Medusa weapons have any juice left in them. Like, yeah, it's been 3,000 years, and this is what petrified all of humanity. But don't forget, even that one that we used to remember Casa had a little bit of juice in it, even though on the Kingdom of Petrification, that island, it supposedly ran out of juice after petrifying the whole island. But again, Bar was abusing that Medusa weapon anyway. He had petrified a lot of people before that, so it was going to run out of juice regardless. So Senku picks up a couple of them and he commands 1 meter, 3 seconds, and tosses them forward. He's like, all right, because when you work as a scientist, this is the risk you gotta take, and because they all know the recipe for the revival fluid, they're not worried. So he's like, 1 meter, 3 seconds. I just threw my Green Lantern rings. I don't know why I did that. At first, nothing happens, getting a hilarious reaction from Senku. So Taiju willingly jumps in like it's a pool of it's hard metal, I'm sure. But he jumps into like a pool. He's just start shouting, 1 minute, 3 seconds. No, not here. 1 minute, 3 seconds. No, not here. 1 minute, 3 seconds. I fucking love Taiju. And again, they're willing to sacrifice themselves because they know they'll bring each other back. But we're also trying to find out if we can use one of these Medusa weapons to possibly hold off Stanley Snyder and the rescue team for Dr. Zeno. But again, nothing happened, so they all turn into a game and they all start helping him. I found this hilarious. I mean, again, it makes sense for the story, but I thought it was hilarious that this was happening. Sorry, 1 second. I had a little thing pop up. But in conclusion, they're all out of juice, and the reason why is because, again, on Treasure Island, like, petrifying one entire island made it run out of juice. So, if you're talking about a world, a whole planet, yeah, all of these things are out of juice. Like, they probably powered each other to cover the entire planet, but still, they're not going to have that kind of juice after being used that much. And we don't even know if other people had come across them at one point that had survived. Like the ancestors of the astronauts, of course, and then their children. But now, despite that these can't be used for us to activate them, we can do something else with them. Joel is meticulously taking a Medusa weapon apart and learning the intricate details of it. But don't forget, the way he does his science, like the way Senku says, is like the way science works is you got to be willing to take things apart and put it back together to see how it works. So Joel is like intricately, as a watchmaker, trying to find all the tiny details in this Medusa weapon and his single Medusa weapon and trying to figure out how it works. Because he doesn't want to risk breaking them, even though we now have a near infinite amount of them. Like, yeah, we could risk destroying 1 or 2 Medusa weapons at this point because, we have a limitless supply right now. But Joel, being a watchmaker, he is just different like that. And I don't think Senku would want to break them all. But, oh, no. Senku decides, no, so, yeah, while Joel is intricately taking apart one piece by piece, Senku's like, oh, we got plenty. We can just start smashing them and see what happens. I love that. But, yeah, that does make sense based off what we know about Senku and these Medusa weapons being out of juice. In the meantime, Stanley's retrieval team is waiting and watching the radar for any possible sign of us to appear. So right now we are like, we lost Stanley Saturn when we went to the Amazon rainforest, and then we used the Amazon River to get all the way down to the origin of the Medusa weapon. So Stanley Saturn knows we're looking for the origin of the Medusa weapon, but he doesn't know exactly where we're going. So he's waiting to find out where we're going to pop up at. So how do we plan to avoid them this time? By making a stealth ship, of course. I had no idea how this was going to happen. I did not even see this coming. And I thought we had made a stealth ship at one point, but I think I had mistaken it for something else. But I'm no longer surprised by Senku's fun antics. He's always blowing us away by everything he's making and coming up with. And again, it's as someone that's not really much of a science major or was that much interested in science as a kid, Dr. Stone, if I had read this as a kid, or if it came out when I was a kid, I would have damn sure been like, oh, yeah, teach me how this works. Teach me how that works. I would love it so much. However, to no one's surprise, this doesn't work our first try. Though Zeno worked for NASA and would know how to create something like that, he wouldn't aid our group in this effort because it would help them evade Stanley Snyder. Like, obviously, Stanley Snyder, he's smart. He could help us create a stealth ship, but he's like, why would I do that? Why would I help you? You've already got me to the origin of Medusa weapons. I can just get one of these Medusa weapons and figure it out myself from here on out. And you've given the revival fluid to Dr. Brody. So what do I need you for now? That's kind of how Stanley Snyder's acting. But that's when we learned something else. Something even I hadn't thought of. How did a mountain of Medusa weapons never get detected? Like, obviously, like, the white man couldn't have sent down all these Medusa weapons at once and then activated them. Like, I mean, he could, but they probably would have had to have been sitting there for a while, like at some point. So even if, like, say there was 100, because there has to be, to create a pyramid of those, there has to be next to, like, I'm gonna use Senku's terminology, 10 billion of those. How did someone not notice a pyramid of Medusa weapons just appearing randomly in the world? Well, that's because something inside a Medusa weapon cannot be detected by radar. Its shape even might have something particular to do with it, and I thought it was really clever. So now we're like, okay, these Medusa weapons could have been sitting here way before the world was petrified, but because they have some kind of anti-radar system around them, or some kind of anti-detection system, unless you had been flying over this area and looking down and saw that, you'd be like, why is there a pyramid near the Amazon rainforest? And why is it green and glowing? You know, he could have been exposed a long time ago. So I thought that was really clever. I'm like, okay, we're getting more. Even though we know about the Medusa weapon and we found the origin, there's still things about the Medusa weapon we still don't understand. So my boy Chrome, being a genius like he is, I cannot wait to get to the tier list. We are very close to the tier list. I assume by the summer we'll be at the tier list. I'm like, middle of May, we'll have the tier list out for sure. I'm going to try to get this out faster. So our boy Chrome, being the genius that he is, he's like, if these Medusa weapons can't be detected by radar, why don't we just cover our ship with Medusa weapons? We don't have the materials to create a Medusa. We don't have the materials to create a stealth ship. Stanley Snyder's going to help, and Stanley Snyder's refusing to help us. So let's just cover the ship in Medusa weapons. And so we do. And now we have our new and improved stealth ship, thanks to my boy Chrome. That was fucking incredible. I love it. I love how, like, again, Chrome, it's like he said, he's a scientist that uses exploration. He uses what he can find around him. And that is very clever because, again, as I said, these Medusa weapons cannot be detected by radar, and Stanley Snyder is waiting for us to pop on the radar. So, bada bing, bada boom. We're going to MacGyver this ship. So, although we still haven't figured out exactly how they work or why the white man petrified all of humanity, we do know one. Oh, sorry. I've combined all my notes again together. So, what I do is when I'm doing, planning out my videos, I do my notes like all for like that one video, but then I'm like, okay, it's been a while, I can group these together, and so I don't edit my notes, I just go based off how they would have been if I ended the video. So sorry if I got to talk over myself a little bit. But anyways, we coded the stealth ship with our Medusa weapons, and now we can be detected by Stanley Snyder. Meanwhile, Senku and Zeno, the world's greatest minds, are cracking into the Medusa weapon as well, hoping to figure out the answer and to get them to reactivate, while Joel is doing the same in the Kingdom of North America. So Stanley Snyder is once again willing to help, not because he's evading, because this doesn't help Stanley Snyder get away from Stanley Snyder. This is him like, okay, Senku, you're the only one that can probably help me figure out how these Medusa weapons work, and I want to be able to control them, and maybe once again I can just use this to turn on your crew, and I can use this to petrify your crew, and then, you can't stop me again, unless you want to work with me. So Stanley Snyder's like, okay, well, for the love of science, I'll help you with this, but I'm not going to help you keep evading Stanley Snyder. Like, I'm going to help Stanley do everything he can to catch you, but while we're working on science together and the Medusa weapons, I want to help you with that. Through their combined efforts, and Chrome and Kohaku, of course, with her ultimate eyes, we learned that somehow the Medusa weapons needs a perfect diamond to activate. Because in the center of the Medusa weapons, I think we found out previously that there was a diamond in the center. Joel had found that out. But it has to be a perfect diamond. It can't just be like a regular diamond, a dusty diamond, a diamond coated in dirt, or a blackened. It has to be a clean, perfect diamond. If it's blackened, it means it's out of juice. And if it's cracked, that means it's a dud. So if it's blackened, the Medusa weapon's not going to work at all. It's out of juice. If it's cracked, even if the Medusa weapon's diamond looks perfect, or it looks like it would work, it's not going to work because it's dead. So Senku's next goal is to create a diamond, which for some reason I felt we had created before already. I don't know why. I felt like this is what I was talking about. I felt like at one point we had created a diamond before, but then I was like, well, why would we have ever needed that? But I had felt like it was just something Senku would have done. Or maybe I was thinking of a different anime. But I had felt like at one point I had seen somebody create a diamond. It might have been like, not Bleach, maybe Fullmetal Alchemist. I'm forgetting what I'm thinking of, but there was something like they had created a diamond or something like that. Maybe Jimmy Neutron. Yeah, we had Jimmy singing to what that dog name? The robotic dog. He's like, I'm gonna make a diamond someday or something like that. Anyways, but Senku trusts the team back on the base because, in his own words, science is for everyone who's willing to learn, and some trial and error is going to happen, but he trusts that like our team in North America can create diamonds, and we're going to create, because we're not creating a diamond ourselves. We're trusting the team and the Kingdom of North America with Dr. Brody to create diamonds, and Joel. We're trusting them to create diamonds. We don't have time to create a diamond, but they do because they're all willing to work together. So now that we've crafted a diamond, we are one step closer to charging our Medusa weapon and then replicating, possibly even regaining the power of a Medusa weapon, and then using that against our future enemies, being Stanley Snyder and possibly the Y-Man. But this is also where we are cutting off communication with the Kingdom of North America. Like when we went up against the Kingdom of Stone with Tsukasa and Hyoga, and with the Kingdom of Petrification with Irabara and Mozu and not Kirasame. I think her name is Kirasame. We can't let our enemy outside. We can't let the outside enemy know of our plan to arrive a Medusa weapon because they have a sonar guard like Yukio on their side, and any major information like that can get leaked. And once they know that we know how to create a Medusa weapon, like it needs a diamond, and they know like what we're trying to do, they're gonna try to replicate us, stop us, or take over our plan completely, and we cannot let that happen. So, yeah, like usual, Senku's like, all right, enough information. I always love how Senku just cuts people off. He's like, that's enough. Love fucking Senku. He's fucking great. We might not hear from him again until either Stanley Snyder is taken down or we've beaten the Y-Man. That's the projected. So we're no longer communicating with the Kingdom of North America until probably post the end of Dr. Stone. Whatever crew we've got is probably the crew we're sticking with all the way to the end. So that's kind of creative, but I love it because we also know where all of our characters are. I've mentioned this before in writing. When you have a lot of characters, you need to creatively separate them, and we need to know where they are. So we're not asking like, oh, why aren't they there? Why aren't this person there? This author very much understands that. He very much understands a lot of stuff in writing, but that is a very good writing trope that many people don't know about. Like, you have to make sure when you have a lot of characters, we know where they are, and it makes sense that they're there, and that we can like understand who's with who. But what were we doing? Meanwhile, our Kingdom of Science in North America is creating a diamond. If we're not creating a diamond, what are we doing? We found the origin point of the Medusa weapon. So now what? Well, don't forget the white man is still on the moon, and we still have to create a spaceship to get to the moon. And I'm like, there's only like 15 chapters or so left in Dr. Stone. How are we going to create a spaceship in 15 chapters? So our next plan is to head deeper into another part of Africa to create Super Alloy City, which is something I had forgot up until this point. That Senku did say we needed like 3 cities. We needed like Horn City, Super Alloy City, and I think something else, and all of that, and plus we're robbing 1 million people, and then we're going to be able to create a spaceship to get to the moon. But again, we still have to worry about Stanley Sider and Zeno, because Stanley Sider was clever enough to tell his team, Zeno was clever enough to tell his team where they were going by just using his eyes as Morse code, merely blinking his eyes at Stanley Sider, and Stanley Sider figured it out because Stanley Sider's military, but they're also best friends, so they kind of like have this communication thing. And with that, Stanley's every intention is cutting us off before we even get there. Like Stanley Sider, again, he's after Zeno. That's his main goal, is getting his best friend back. He's not going to stop. He's going to hunt us down to the ends of Earth. Like Dr. Brody said, he'll chase you down to hell and back to get his best friend. And so now it's just a race. We also built a makeshift elevator. It's just a little side note I made. Like, it's just, again, one of those things in Dr. Stone, like, you just got to go with it because we got to move. In a time skip, Stanley Sider and his crew have headed us off and already made it to their destination. Meanwhile, Senku is relying on Joel to finish a new Medusa weapon quickly so they can have a Medusa weapon machine gun to use against Stanley Sider. And I thought that'd be fucking epic. That's another place where I ended my notes because, yeah, there's a time jump pretty much. And basically Stanley Sider has caught up to us again, and Senku is relying on Senku is relying on Joel to create this Medusa weapon machine gun that we can use to petrify Stanley Sider and his retrieval team. But I was like, okay, how are you going to get that also, because you're way in Africa and they're in North America? Like, I don't know. And where I'm at right now, we haven't created that. From where we're going to end these chapters, we didn't create the machine gun yet. Or the Medusa weapon machine gun. But anyways, as the chapter continues, Senku and the others have built a small fortress in Araxa. I might be saying that wrong. For the upcoming battle with Stanley Sider. And Senku was already aware that Zeno tipped off Stanley Sider. He's not surprised about this. Again, none of us are surprised. We know Zeno is just helping us to further possibly even take the White Man down himself, because the White Man can just repetrify him, or all of them and his crew. So he's just willing to help to get to like a certain point. But once Zeno... Hold on. Sorry about that. But once Zeno and Stanley Sider meet up again, like, Zeno's not going to be on our side. He's not going to want to help us. Like, he might interrogate, or he might force Senku to help him get to the moon, and then after that be done with him. But we don't know yet. But we know Stanley's going to kill Senku regardless. Which isn't good, because if you remember previously, our fighters, Tsukasa and Hyoga, got shot. They're like out of commission. They're not dead, they're not dying, but they are very badly wounded. And our only remaining fighters are Kohaku, Yukio, and Max, who we've never seen in a fight. Taiju is strong, but we also know Taiju refuses to throw a punch. So we know we can't rely on Taiju to like fight them. He would probably defend, but Taiju's not gonna throw a punch. We need that Medusa weapon machine gun now more than ever. That's what I remember saying in my notes. Like, if we're gonna get this gun before the fight starts, we need it now. But unfortunately, Medusa weapons are just too small and fragile for us to get the diamonds inside without completely shattering them. So even though we're breaking them because we have a lot of them, we're not getting any closer to getting those diamonds, because those diamonds have to be pretty freaking small. And so, like, you know, while you're smashing the whole thing, you could be breaking the diamond, because even a crack in the diamond will also cause it to be a dud, and we need a perfect diamond. We even hear Joel is having a tough time with this assignment, and he is a watchmaker. He is good at intricately getting into small spaces and taking things apart. But if he's having trouble getting his hands on a diamond, we're also not going to have any better luck than him. That's when Taiju suggests, well, he would just run at them with the Medusa weapon, committing pseudo-suicide, because he knows they can just arrive him to bring him back. So Taiju's like, okay, well, if we can't get the Medusa machine gun, I'll just grab a bunch of these Medusa weapons, run at the enemy, because I'm not going to fight them. And even if they try to take me down, I'm strong. I'm going to petrify myself, because I know you guys will bring me back to life. Again, everybody knows the revival fluid, and you guys have Senku. So, again, you gotta love Taiju. He's such a sweetheart. Taiju is also going to be S rank tier for sure. I can't see putting Taiju any lower. But, again, I don't want to stop talking about the tier list. We'll get to the tier list. But Tsukasa warns they would just take him out with a headshot before he could even get close. Yes, it's Taiju. As sweet as you are and as good as that plan is, Stanley Snyder is definitely going to take you out. Like, Senku, he could probably say that being useful to Zeno. But if Zeno says kill Stanley, if Zeno says kill Senku again, he's just going to take y'all all out. Like, you're not going to get close enough. But I do love Taiju's sweetness. But that's when my boy Chrome gets another idea. I love fucking Chrome. And once Chrome's wheel starts turning, there's no stopping my boy. Chrome is a boss, man. I'm trying to tell you, Chrome is my favorite character. Boy, I gotta give me a Chrome t-shirt. Chrome suggests that everyone but one person petrifies themselves, including Stanley Sanders' retrieval group, and then one person who escapes revives 4 people. So, Chrome is like, Taiju has the right idea, but instead of running at them, we'll all petrify ourselves except one person, obviously probably being Senku. And then Senku, you bring back 4 people, and you continue on to the end of this. Now all that's left to do Now all that's left to do is planning out Fort Medusa. That's what they're calling the base that we've set up. It's Fort Medusa. With speakers placed all around the fort, they plan to release the power of the Medusa weapon once the attack starts. Now, something that confused me was, we currently still don't have a Medusa weapon with juice. So I was like, I understand the plan, but I thought you guys still don't have a Medusa weapon at this point. Like, there's no guarantee that we have a Medusa weapon. Unless I had skipped something in my notes or I forgot something, I was like, I don't remember us getting our hands on a Medusa weapon. Or maybe it's just a front. I remember we're hoping like Joel, or by the time Stanley Snyder gets here, we'll have a Medusa weapon, and then we can, activate them all by speakers. Stank will be the only one that lives. He'll bring back 4 people, and then we'll continue on. But at that point, I was kind of confused. But we ain't got much more notes, so maybe we'll get the answer to it together again. So, I speculated that Sukiya is the one that they're I thought it'd be Senku, but in my notes, in my following chapter, I suspect that Sukiya is the one that they'd be trusting, and she'll be the last one seen as threatening and with great camouflage. So, because Sukiya, she can jump into her helmet like a watermelon and just blend in, and plus she's a child, so they're not going to see a child as a threat. So I think obviously Sukiya would be the one that, they would trust to, create the rival fluid, even though she's young and a child, but she's brave and she's willing to do, and we're putting our trust in her. She'll probably bring Senku first, but we're trusting her. We'll probably just give her a revival fluid to keep with her, to bring back Senku automatically. But we're trusting her possibly to bring everybody back, or 4 additional people back. But we're still having a problem. Joel and Kaseki are cracking down on the Medusa weapon and the diamonds inside. The weapons still aren't charging, so I was correct. We still haven't got our hands on the Medusa weapon. Kaseki and Joel have still not managed to get a diamond out of any of the Medusa weapons we have. Well, Joel only has 1, and we have a lot, but they're constantly breaking. There's more to this battery than just a diamond. So, even if they get their hands on a diamond, there's it's still not enough. It's still not charging. Oh, no, we got a diamond. That's what it was. Yeah, so now I remember why I thought we had the Medusa weapon. We had a diamond, but that's not the source of the Medusa weapon. That's not what gives the Medusa weapon juice. Yes, that is essential to the Medusa weapon, but it's not charging it up. It's not giving the Medusa weapon power. So there's something else to this weapon that's apparently not magic. It's science. So I really can't wait to figure out what this thing is, but there's more to it than that. That's when Kaseki, the master craftsman, realizes something, but we don't get to know what it is just yet. So Kaseki, he realizes something about this Medusa weapon and the diamond. He's like, but we don't get to know what that is yet. There's a surprise coming, I'm guessing. Meanwhile, I was right. Sukiya is the one who will escape outside the battle. She is alone. But she's not alone. Francios is accompanying her, so we actually have 2 people outside. But I did think it'd be kind of weird if Sukiya was by herself, so because she is a child, she's brave. But I was like, I just assumed they'd give her a revival fluid already, and she would bring back Senku. But I like that Francios was with her because we've seen them bond together when they were looking for oil. And they had the pigs and the dog, so I like that they're together. With Sukiya's eye, she manages to spot Sailor Saturn's group just as they make landfall, and they've got Genro and Matsukaze with them. So, yeah, because they were still hostages. Genro and Matsukaze were hostages like a couple chapters ago. They're doing their best to stay out of sight and not ruin the operation, but as we know, anytime there's a plan that we have, something's going to go awry, and it's going to cause our plan to fall apart. So I was already expecting something to go wrong. Like, right now, the rest of our team is at Fort Medusa. They got speakers set up. Once Sander's group get close enough, they're going to set off the Medusa weapons and petrify all of them, except for Francios and Sukiya. But because we know these plans never go exactly as they're supposed to, I suspect that something was going to go wrong. And that's when it happens. A poisonous spider bites Charlotte, the enemy, and like makes her panic. Or like go into excruciating pain, like she's gonna die. And I knew this would be the moment that like the plan goes awry. This is gonna be the thing that goes wrong. Now don't forget that once we got to the Amazon, Siku had already whipped up some items to counter microscopic foes, but no one's supposed to know that we're here, otherwise it could blow our operations. So Siku had already warned us when we first got to Amazon rainforest. We gotta watch out for like fire ants, Zeno created bug repellent. We created rubber boots to keep our like feet safe. So Siku had warned, there's like basically insects that we gotta worry about. And still, our Kingdom of Science wants no fatalities on either side. Like, we are all about, no one dying on either side of our battle. So, without hesitation, Sukiya immediately races to her side to save her, exposing us. But also, again, I just expected this. One, because Sukiya is a child. She doesn't want anybody to die. But also, everybody on our Kingdom of Science is like that as well. Now, the bad part is, we know Stanley Snyder's a military man who will kill without hesitation, and because Sukiya risked her life to save Charlotte, this will either turn out good for them, and Charlotte will turn to our Kingdom of Science, or he's going to take Sukiya hostage and force our hand. That's where the chapter ended again. That was a pretty good cliffhanger, but again, we're going to keep going because I feel like there's a better cliffhanger. But at this point, again, the stakes keep getting higher and higher because, yes, Sukiya is going to save Charlotte. Charlotte could turn to our side. But Stanley Snyder could be like, oh, well, you just gave us a hostage. Thank you for that. Now, in a desperate move, Francios reveals herself and tosses a kitchen knife into the air. To anyone else, this would be a pointless weapon to use against guns, but Matsukaze is a fierce warrior, and as we know, the moment he saw this weapon go into the air, I knew the tides would turn again. So Matsukaze, he leaps into the air, cuts himself free, and uses the knife as a weapon. Also, Francios revealed herself because, obviously she doesn't want Sukiya to be killed or, feel like she's alone. So she went to help Sukiya. And then we also managed to save Charlotte because Sukiya gave her the antidote. It's a very cool panel. Also, I'll make sure I show it off whenever Matsukaze leaps up and saves himself. I was not expecting the tide to turn again so quickly, but that's just how Dr. Stone is. It's pretty clever. It can change up who's in check and who's in checkmate. Well, we've seen that multiple times, Dr. Stone, like how fast the one person can be ahead, the other person can get ahead. But actually, it's not Matsukaze Matsukaze. It seemed like Matsukaze was going to get up and save it, but it's actually Genro. Genro is the one that got cut free. Oh my god, yes, that's right, because I was laughing my ass off. That was great. I love that twist that I did not see coming. And though we know Genro being cowardly and always running away, I believe that after the Petrification Kingdom, and he asked to turn with Genro, that Genro would show a newer side of him, becoming braver, becoming stronger. And he does seem to remember that, because he also doesn't want his friend Sukiya to die or Francios, even if there's a small chance he can save her. So after Matsukaze saves Genro, he has a moment where he thinks he'll flee. He has a moment where he thinks he's going to do Usopp, but instead he goes God Usopp. He goes God Genro mode. However, even so, in reality, Stanley Snyder has a gun, and it isn't like a knife is going to win against a gun in a fight. So immediately he destroys his makeshift weapon. However, Francios notices something that even I briefly failed to realize. He could have killed Genro and Matsukaze at any time. He had them under his guard, but he instead kept them unharmed and held them prisoner. because Genro attacked with a weapon, he had open fired on him. So Genro was gonna attack, but Stanley Snyder shot him because he had a weapon. But Francis is like, you're not willing to kill us, because if you want to kill us, you could have been done that. Like, you obviously want hostages, either like for a hostage exchange. Like, that's your end game with Zeno. You want to trade Zeno for Matsukaze and Genro, and now you have me and Sukiya. So you don't want to trade us for him. Because Francios realizes that these guys are still soldiers at the end of the day and follow the rules of war, meaning they won't attack anyone they deem as civilians or prisoners. So that's pretty cool as well. Again, this author is a clever writer. Like, because Stanley Snyder's a military man, he's like, okay, well, you guys are basically civilians. You can't fight me. I've already taken you down, and you're also our prisoners, and I'm going to use you as a trade. And surprisingly, Stanley Snyder agrees. If they act as civilians, he would treat them as such. So Stanley Snyder, kind of a good guy. I mean, he did only kill Senku because Zeno told him to do it, but because he did like, Zeno, are you sure? And Zeno was like, yes, do it. But despite that happening, Francios also somehow sent out Morse code back to our Fort Medusa for Senku that Leonard. We finally learned the name of that radar guard. That's the name of the radar guard. I gotta write that down. I will forget. Sorry, there's a lot of names in the Kingdom of North America that I've been trying to remember, so I had to write it down on one. I remembered it. But it's said that we split into two teams. It sounds like a pointless message, but it turns the tide back into our favor because Francis revealed Stanley Snyder's current location. So we split up again in Stanley Snyder's group. He split up his team into two. Knowing this information should give us the advantage over Stanley Snyder's crew, but still it's too early to tell. The last time we assumed we had the advantage in the final battle against Ibarra, he had several clever tricks up his sleeve. So even though Francios was able to give Morse code back to Fort Medusa, she's like, hey, Stanley Snyder is taking us as hostages. He's not wanting to kill us. Everybody's unharmed. And he's split into two groups. You know, this could still be too early to say, hey, we've got the advantage now. However, things once again change because guess what? Sukiya is in danger. And knowing that means Kawaku is racing into battle without hesitation or thinking. Like, Kawaku cares about Sukiya a lot. She saved her back in the forest when the poisonous gas was coming up that mountain, and Sukiya was willing to sacrifice herself to take out the Kingdom of Stones, military man, and Kawaku was one that saved her, and so Kawaku is like, oh, you threatening Sukiya? You got Sukiya? Oh, I'm coming to kill your ass. Thankfully, though, she does manage to find him easily with her Byakugan. I mean, her ultimate eyes. She doesn't immediately engage him in combat instead of thinking out things cleverly, thinking out things with a level head, and assessing the situation. So, gotta give Kawaku props for that. Kawaku has leveled up. She's learned, not to rush into battle. She's thinking things out. Because, yes, we know that she loves Sukiya. She loves all her friends. But Sukiya being a child is why she's more like that. But also, she's like, well, if I rush in there, I could end up getting her killed too. So, let me see what I can do. Let me see where these guys are at. But what really threw me off, and even surprised me, was Kawaku. About Kawaku is that Hyoga and Tsukasa followed her for backup. Now, once again, all of our strongest fighters are away from the main team. And also, it's surprising because Hyoga and Tsukasa were injured. But, they're like, hey, well, if you're going after these guys, you're going to need us as backup. We can probably help you. But they aren't going to attack them outright. Anyways, so we use instead the wit of my other two favorite characters, Chrome and Yukio. They're like, hey, don't outright attack them yet. We're gonna come up with a plan for you guys. Chrome has set up Chrome has set up a mimic of a gunshot. We're using the speakers to make Stanley Snyder and his team believe they're under gunfire. Because remember, we have those speakers set up around the Fort Medusa to activate the Medusa weapons to petrify everybody, but instead we're gonna make it seem like Stanley said, "Oh, we got guns, we're gonna fire back at you." But instead of firing a real gunshot, Yukio recreated the sound using a plastic bottle, like movie producers do with water in a pan to mimic the sound of rushing water, but laying it on top of each other. So this is kind of cool. I didn't know that movie producers do this. To mimic the sound of a gunshot, movie producers swoosh water in a pan back and forth, and that creates the sound of a gunshot by laying it on top of each other. That's pretty cool. That's a really cool thing to learn in Dr. Stone, as well as like just if that's true, which I'm sure it is because I feel like this author does a lot of research. But I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do that to mimic the sound of a gunshot. I would try that at home. That seems like something pretty safe that you could do. In certain situations, warn your family that you don't have to actually have a gun. But it makes the sound of several loud gunshots. So Stanley Snyder's crew, they're giving pause for a brief second. But Stanley Snyder and his crew, they pretend to fall for it. But they really are splitting off into two teams. They're like, oh no, fuck this. Let's split up. One team is pretending to retaliate against the gunfire, but the other team is heading towards Fort Medusa. That's because they're real combat soldiers. They know the sound of real gunfire, and they can immediately tell this is fake. They're like, we've been on a battlefield. We've been in war. We know what a real gunshot sounds like versus a fake gunshot. And even if you do have guns, we have guns too. So while we're going to pretend like, oh, we're going to fire back at you guys, we're retaliating, another half of our team is going to come up from behind and attack you guys. And while Haku wants to use them splitting up to rescue Francios, Genro, Matsukaze, and Sukiya, Hyuga says their goal should be instead to take out the receiver. So Haku's like, okay, this is perfect. They don't know that we're on top of them. They think they have the advantage. We believe we have the advantage. We should save our hostages right now. But Hyuga's like, no, it's better to take out their ability to communicate with each other back and forth. That should be our priority. They're not going to harm the hostages as long as they see them as civilians. They've already made that clear. So let's cease their communication to get advantage. Because again, and the main thing in a war is guerrilla warfare, the warfare of information. Be able to share information back and forth with your team. We learned that early, not to show them with the cell phone. That's how we got the advantage over Tsukasa and Hyuga in the Kingdom of Stone arc, or the Stone Wars arc, which is a great title, by the way. I love the title of the Stone Wars. Also, we learned that Hyuga still has his dark ways. He knows that if they cut off their transmitter, Stanley Snyder's team will lose access to their people in Corn City, and that holding our other half of the Kingdom of Science hostage, or we formed an alliance with, will maybe turn bad. Once the Kingdom of Science in North America loses contact with Stanley Snyder, they might be like, oh, they took out our guys, but we got their guys here. We can just take them back as hostages. We can just go back to the way it was. He's like, that could be bad. But once they do that, Stanley Snyder also might retaliate and kill our 4 civilian hostages, but we could easily threaten them with the same thing about their best friend Zeno. So once again, we are in a standstill, a stalemate. If we cut out their transmitter, the Kingdom of Science of North America could take that as retaliation, think that we've taken out Stanley Snyder, and they could attack our they could attack our friends in the Kingdom of Science North America. Also, Stanley Snyder, if he loses communication, he could kill our 4 civilian friends. But we could also be like, oh, well, we'll kill Zeno if you kill our friends. But no one else is on board with that idea except for Hyuga because, again, no one in the Kingdom of Science wants to kill people, including Tsukasa, surprisingly. Tsukasa also doesn't want to kill people. I think Tsukasa said he never wanted to kill people. He just had to kill Senku because Senku wouldn't give up his dream of, eventually bringing everybody back because they could create guns. Irabara was just ruthless. Irabara was just disgusting. So Hyuga's like, oh well, you sometimes need that dark idea. We also learned that the name of the muscle woman in the Kingdom of North America, her name is Maya. She was a former MMA champion title holder. So we finally learned her name as well. That was another character that I was curious about, who is this muscle woman that we never got the name of. Her natural battle instincts finds the 3 of them hiding, and we get a cool shot of Tsukasa and Hyuga and Kawaku preparing to engage her in battle. She does the thing that Tsukasa did when he saw the cell phone, that look. She has this intense look too, and the panel ends with them all going head to head. I thought that was pretty cool. That was another great chapter to end at, but we're gonna end in this last portion right here. So I know we're almost done. I know it's a long Dr. Stone video. It's rare we do these long Dr. Stone videos. So where we last left off, Hyuga, Tsukasa, and Kawaku are about to engage in battle with Maya, who is the muscle woman in the Kingdom of Science North America. And our goal is to currently destroy their transmitter and cut off their communication with Corn City. Even though it's going to put our people at risk, it's going to put our hostages at risk, we have to do it because that's going to give us the advantage in guerrilla warfare. The panel of them fighting the panel of them fighting is pretty sick, and what follows is pretty cool. I'm gonna make sure I show that off for you guys for a few seconds. We can also learn that through Kohaku's fighting style with Hyoga and Tsukasa that she fully trusts them. She says that normally in battle she would cover her back because turning your back to an enemy is a sign of death. That's very true. If you turn your back to an enemy, they can stab you in the back. And it's why Whitebeard in his battle at Marineford, he never turned his back. Like, that legendary, I don't want to clip it in because I know Toei Animation is going to definitely claim it. But if you've seen that ending of Marineford War, like where Whitebeard got shot with a bunch of cannons, stabbed this many times, he had unbelievable death, but there was no scars on his back. He never got one wound to his back. He never turned his back to an enemy. That's what Kohaku's thinking. She's like, I don't want to do that. Or how Zoro said to Mihawk once, he's like, I cut to his swordsman's back as a swordsman's greatest dishonor. It means you ran away. So Mihawk cut him down from the front, and Zoro willingly took that. He lost.
Even after death, his body remains upright. The haunting image of his battered body, which mowed down his enemies, was a sight to behold. The final tally of sword wounds he received in this battle was no less than 267. The number of gunshot wounds, 152. He was struck by cannonballs 46 times. And yet, if you were to look upon the proud back of this great man, you would see that in this battle, and indeed his entire life as a pirate, it remained unmarred by any sign of retreat.
Oh yeah, getting cut down from the back is like a thing. It shows weakness. It shows you ran away. So she's like, I never want to turn my back to an enemy, even if I lose. But she don't have to worry about her back because Hyuga and Tsukasa are at her back. And she's got theirs. So that's pretty cool. That's a great way to show that, like, Hyuga and Tsukasa are on her side and that all of our Kingdom of Science trust each other. We then get a battle between the strongest MMA fighter in Japan, Tsukasa, versus the strongest female MMA fighter in America, Maya, and who acknowledges Tsukasa for being the first person to push. Tsukasa also acknowledged her for being the first person to push him so far. But we know who had to wait till Tsukasa dropped his guard and to attack him and weaken him. So we know that, like, you know, Hyuga is still the strongest one on our team. Hyuga is not at Tsukasa's level. He had to catch Tsukasa off guard just to like take him down. But you can't underestimate our boy Tsukasa at full power. He takes her down with a single blow in this fucking really epic panel, and it really made me laugh. I love the way this man draws his manga. I was just going to show this panel off. It was really having me laugh on the plane when I was reading this. Like, she just takes her out, and she goes flying, like Team Rocket blasting off again. However, I was not expecting Tsukasa to be lit up with gunfire following this. That was insane, because we just saved Tsukasa previously from his wound in the Stone Wars with Hyuga, and then we brought him back after the Kingdom of Petrification, and then we had him back briefly, and now this man's got wounded again. That was insane. And we can assume that Tsukasa is dying because he thinks back to why he wanted to stop Senku from evolving science to begin with, because again, he wanted to kill Senku only because he wanted to prevent Senku from bringing everybody back, because they would eventually get their hands on guns. This is a full circle moment with that, because Senku was being killed by a gun. And it didn't matter how strong he was, a fist cannot stop a bullet. And I love that full circle. It really did come back. Following his downfall, Hyuga is in shot now while protecting Kohaku, and this was a real brutal read. Again, it just shows once again that Hyuga is fully on our side. He's fully a good guy. Kohaku could trust him. She got her back to him. As Kohaku just got her full circle again as well. Worried about her back, Hyuga had it. Despite Hyuga goes down, he tells Kohaku to focus on the job she has to do, and she succeeds, even getting a compliment from Leonard. Kohaku, even though seeing Tsukasa and Hyuga being taken down and shot by a gun, she takes out their communicator, and then Leonard takes her out as well. It was brutal to read this. And I know it's just a manga / anime, and they're going to be okay by the end, but I love these characters. And as the panel faced tonight, we learned that Kohaku was gunned down as well. Tsukasa is dying, Hyoga is dead, and the three of them have put their faith in Senku restoring the Medusa weapon, and hoping that their third revival for all of them, hoping it'll be their third and final revival for all of them, because remember, even Kohaku has now been petrified twice, and that Medusa weapon light can only save their life, and the Medusa weapon's light can once again save all their lives. So Kohaku, yeah, she was petrified in the Kingdom of Petrification twice, because once when she was saved, used it to save Kohaku. The second time was when the whole island was petrified. So Katsu was petrified once when Himeno was originally petrified, and he was petrified again post the Stone Wars to save him. Hyoga was petrified, unpetrified during the unpetrified the first time in the Stone Wars, repetrified, when was Hyoga repetrified? Oh, repetrified, I think, when they got, because this whole ship got petrified. Repetrified when they got to the Kingdom of Petrification. And so they're all in their third revival. This will be all of their third time. But they trust and believe in Senku that he'll bring them all back. So, oh my God, man. Those are our strongest fighters, and they've all been taken out. This is a very sad and unexpected ending. I also really love the shot of Tsukasa looking up at the stars. It's very beautifully drawn. I'm going to make sure I show that off for a few seconds. It's mirroring and full circling the Akuya looking up at the stars. It's also amazing how all these characters put all their hopes in Senku. This makes me wonder who's the three-man cell is going to be, because obviously these characters are going to be out for the rest of the chapter until the very end of Dr. Stone. I'm assuming. I do not know that. But Tsukasa was supposed to be our third man in our three-man cell. It was supposed to be Senku. I forgot who else. I think it was Senku, or Ryusei, and then because the pilot, Senku the scientist, Ryusei the pilot, and then the strongman Tsukasa. But Tsukasa take it down. So I don't know who the three-man cell is going to be. But anyways, guys, that's all for this video. A very sad ending to leave off on, but one I thought that was better for this video, especially being so far and very close to the end. So I can't speculate because I'm still a little bit further. There'll be one more video, and then I can speculate with you guys about what's going to happen next. But very fucking great ending. Really hit me in the feels. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Sorry, this video was a little bit messy and all over the place. Also, we're going to talk about Tokyo Ghoul next because I got something to say about the anime season 1. But anyways, that's all for this video. I'll see you guys next one. Talk later. Bye. Hey guys, this video was sponsored by me, the author of the Shinry series, the Chronicles of Wayne, and Monsterverse. So I figured I'd do this outro a little bit different by showing you guys what you guys will be checking out. So, the Shinry series starts with Book 1, Shobu Samurai Project Aryoku. 10 years after the death of his parents, Shobu Samurai returns home seeking vengeance, but instead faces a choice to save his home from shadow creatures, blood beasts, and an organization once thought dead. Shinry's Shobu Samurai starts at $9.99. And if you love anime, manga, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho, Fairy Tail, Shaman King, Rave Master, Zatch Bell, anything like that, the Shinry series is definitely the series for you. You'll definitely want to check it out. The Sword of Light is probably the thickest one so far. And then these books are 2. This is Enter the Dread Zone Tournament. And the series original ending, Arado, the Legendary Conjuring Master. So, and I'll just show you guys some of the covers. Really proud of all of these. But I hope you guys check it out. If you don't like that, I also have the current published books for the Chronicles of Wayne, Love Be Damned, Cotton Candy, Full Moons, Fabled Lovers, A Cursed Virgin's Bite. If You Go Where Monsters Dance, Red will Reign Over Your House. Love Be Damned. Now, the Chronicles of Wayne is about a geeky guy, or a nerdy guy in high school. His senior year, he has a crush on the hottest guy in school, because of course he does. He's only got one best friend, and her name is Barb. Well, the hottest guy in school turns out to be a werewolf. And to make the story more interesting, he bites Wayne and turns Wayne into the first ever wolfman in the last 10 years. And because of that, it was also a sacred law that wolfmen should never be created. I don't want to get into too much of the Chronicles of Wayne without spoiling it, but I can tell you it's very short. This one sells for $6.99, and Love Be Caged right after it. The ending of this trilogy, Love Be Liberated, comes out in October. So I'm going to definitely do a more full in-depth review of this one. But yeah, it's an LGBT fantasy fiction story about werewolves, vampires, white witches, a dark warlock, and, well, many, many more surprises to come. So if you guys like to read, I definitely recommend. These are all the books so far in the Shinry series, except for Shinry's Beginning. I do have that one, but it's just not here with me. But yeah, I appreciate a like, support, or just a review on Amazon. Either way, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.